Was there a particular event or time you recognized that filmmaking was not just a hobby, but that it would be your life and your living? I never considered photography a hobby. When I entered photography, it was as an art, and very quickly I turned it into a profession. And I made my career basically as a still photographer before moving into film. Is it harder to get started or to keep going? What particular thing did you have to conquer to do either? Getting started in filmmaking or any other kind of business is hard. And it's hard because you're young and you don't have any money and the gear costs a lot and you don't have the training. So you have to have heart that you want to do this. And then you develop your skills, and then you have to make sure that you do have the eye and you do have the soul that's needed for this profession. Getting started in photography or filmmaking is really rugged because you're young and you don't have a dime. All you've got is a passion. But as long as you've got that passion, you can jump through the hoops and make things happen. So you need to develop your skills, but keep your heart. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to have a career creating film? If somebody wants to get into film, I think the most important thing is to have a mind outside of film. I think you need to have a good education, or at least have a good self-education. Read, 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 and never stop reading. That's my advice. What was the most important lesson you had to learn that has had a positive effect on your film? How did that lesson happen? I think one of the things you have to learn as a filmmaker or a photographer is you're going to have bad days and you're going to make mistakes. And I've dropped film cans on the ground and watched them get exposed to the sunlight, and then you scramble and figure out how to make the job happen. You are a collaborator. How have you discovered members of your team, and how do you keep the relationship with them going? Over my career, I've put together a lot of different teams. I've hired a lot of people and I've fired a lot of people. And I've also worked with a lot of people where we strictly were working art for art's sake. And some of those were the strongest, where the thing that drove us was not money, but passion. You are here at the Louisiana Film Channel's Movie of the Week. You are here because of your work and how you do it. What are your personal attributes that make for a good filmmaker, and what do you do to foster them? I think to be a good filmmaker, you have to be able to roll with the punches. You have to be able to work hard, work long hours, but you have to love what you do. And so when you make a mistake, you just find a way to get around it and go through it. The same is true of team members. People are going to break things. They're going to knock over lights. They're going to knock over cameras. But unless it's somebody that's just constantly screwing up, you have to support them. When I wanted to devote my life to making movies, my first decision was New York or Louisiana. How does where you live influence how and what you make? And how do you think Louisiana currently affects your work and process? Working in Louisiana is fabulous because of the spiritual nature of Louisiana. This is a place where music and pleasure are as important as work and discipline. And if you can find a way to fuse those things together, then you can bring out that thing that's the magic in Louisiana. What makes a film great for you? Are there certain qualities that make a film better for you? For me, the power of a film always rests first in its story. If you don't have a story that grabs you, that shakes you, then you're just churning out more banal filler stuff. And we've got plenty of that. The world's full of film. But what you want to strive for is something that grabs your heart. Are there certain qualities that make a film better for you? For me, a film has to have great audio. It doesn't matter if you're David Lean shooting Dr. Zhivago. If you've got lousy sound, everybody leaves the theater. So you can think visually, but make sure your audio is on track. What films have been the most inspiring or influential to you and why? I used to say that my favorite movies were Dr. Zhivago and Eraserhead. And you wouldn't think they share much, but they both have a lot in common. Currently, I would say the films that influence me the most are Ida and Roma. Those films just blow me away. Are there common qualities in cinema today that you dislike? Is there something you try to subvert, avoid, or rebel against in your work? In current cinema today, the one thing that I'm not a big fan of is unnecessary camera movement. If it really moves the story along, that's fine, but quick cutting and swinging motion camera makes me think of the camera rather than what I'm supposed to be viewing. So if you can move the camera and you still keep somebody in the mind's eye of the film, then that's fine. But if they're aware of the camera moving, I think you lose your audience. We are all here presumably because we love cinema. How did your love for movie get sparked, and what can we as a community do to help others discover a similar situation? When I was younger, seeing good films was a lot harder because there was very little film shown on the 3 channels on television. So my first exposure to real cinema was going to a film series at a college and watching the Italian neorealist. And that's when I really started to love movies. You know, the Fellinis and that sort of movie. That's what really grabbed me, and it still does. Generally speaking, when we want to learn about a film, we talk to the director. But those that make films know that how much they are really collaborations. What makes a fruitful collaboration? For a team on a film to really work together, they have to share a passion. And a lot of times that may come from the director, but it also might come from the writer. It can come from a lot of different sources. But once you've got the team working on the project, everybody needs to share the vision. You know, you don't want to have people on your set that don't want to be there, that are only there to make a paycheck. It has to be people who want to do it. I think one of the most important things to enhance the collaborative process of a film crew is make sure everybody's well fed. You have to have good catering, even if it's your girlfriend or your wife or your boyfriend that's a chef. Make sure everybody doesn't get hungry. Make sure they have plenty of coffee, and I think that will enhance your collaborative process quite a bit. It is said that there are only 6 stories, maybe 12. It's all been done before, and we have seen it all. What do you do to keep it fresh? Is there anything that you can do to subvert the process to keep it original? Keeping a film project original goes back to story, goes back to why you're making the movie. If you don't have something that doesn't grab you, doesn't have some power to it, why do it? You just, we don't need film that isn't entertaining or profound, one of the two. But if it's just bland, why do it? Okay. We get noticed because of our successes, but we create them on the back of our failures. We learn best from the experiences where it doesn't work, yet we still only discuss the success, not the failure. What failures of your own have you been able to learn from, and how did they change you in your process? I've been shooting long enough where we've had a lot of things screw up in the process. Everything from open film canisters to drop cameras to to hiring the wrong people. And so learning how to find the right people is huge. Learning how to find the right people is huge. You know, it's not just when somebody walks in the door and, you know, they're a live body and you say, okay, you're hired. You know, you really need to develop a feel for people and whether the people really want to work with you. I mean, everybody's hungry for work. So, but you need to find somebody that's hungry to create. And that's what's important. It all starts with the script. Maybe not. But when do you know a script is ready to shoot? What is your process of getting it there? A script is ready to shoot when you can read it and it entertains you or it moves you. That's when it's ready. If it's not ready, you're not gonna laugh at the right spots, or you're not gonna feel your heart pound at the emotional parts, then it's not ready. You have to keep working on it until the story really drives the film.
Very good.
Several directors have told me that the most of directing is actually casting. Regardless of whether that is true, some actors have it and sometimes they need something to make it pop. You've spotted that it and you've captured it. What is it and where do you find it? Well, finding talent is as hard as finding a good DP. I mean, you really have to look for it, and there are so many different ways to advertise. I mean, but a casting call with your actual script, I think, is key. You have to see how somebody actually handles the material that you have a passion for, and if they may be a good candidate for some other role, but they need to be able to fit your script. Is the film business fair? Why or why not? How do you make the apparatus work for you? Asking whether the film business is fair is like asking, is nuclear war fair? Of course it's not fair. It's a dog-eat-dog world. But if you have a reason to make film that allows you to fight your way through whatever obstacles are in your path, then you're going to make it. If not, you're just a hack. Is it the filmmaker's responsibility to find and develop your audience? Why do you feel that way? I'm not sure that it's a filmmaker's responsibility to find and develop an audience. That's like asking, was it Van Gogh's responsibility to find and develop an audience for his paintings? I mean, he was dead and in the grave before anybody really took him seriously. And that may be what happens to your film. But if it was worth making, it's worth making it right, and your audience will find you if you're really truly satisfied with what you've produced. What role have film festivals played in your life so far? Why are they necessary? How did you get the most out of them? Film festivals have pretty much driven my film work. I make short films and I enter them in festivals, and that's where most of their life is. I mean, of course, they end up online where people can see them, but the energy and the collaboration that you can get out of going to film festivals is huge. What role have film festivals played in your life so far? Why are they necessary? How do you get the most out of them? As soon as I started making films, I started entering festivals. And it really drove me because I had some luck with it and found some audiences at film festivals. And there's still a thrill to sitting in a big theater and being with people watching your film. It's like the difference between, doing a Zoom interview and doing a real interview with real people in the room. It makes a difference. I mean, we are humans and we're social animals, and the film festivals provide that niche for films. I'm a big believer in the importance of social media in many aspects of the film process. Are you on social media and do you use it in your work? Why or why not? When we were working on Dead Man's Number, we used crowdsourcing online as a way to raise money. I put up about half the budget, and then the other half was raised by a lot of people that I didn't know sending in funding based on what we did on social media. When I got started, there were two screens, the movie screen and the television screen. Now there are also computers, tablets, and phones. Screens are everywhere: the home, the bus stop, the elevator, the taxi cab, the gas station pump. As a creator, how does this affect the stories you tell and how you tell them? I hate vertical movies. If I'm going to make a film for a phone, I expect my audience to turn it sideways, because my vision is the vision of a human being. It's horizontal. It's not vertical. And so making movies for phones is fine, but please turn them. Is there one or more thing you think would make the film industry better? What would it be? I think one thing that would make the film industry better is less glitzy galas. I hate those red carpets and all those diamonds. I think it would be better off without that. Okay. Do filmmakers have any responsibility to culture? Do you feel that being a creative person requires that you give back or tell a particular story? Why or why not? Filmmakers have a responsibility to lift up our culture, not to coarsen it. I mean, it's one thing to entertain 13-year-old boys, but it's another thing to entertain adults. And if you're creating content to be viewed as adults, you need to treat your audience as adults and be an adult as a filmmaker and tell something worth telling, entertaining or not. It needs to be worth telling. Our film, The Dead Man's Number, was taken directly from a dream that I had that included a visit from a dead friend of mine. And in that dream, he gave me a phone number. And when I woke up, I remembered not only the dream, but the phone number. And so that's where the film came from. Where did you find your cast? We held casting calls for The Dead Man's Number at Novak in New Orleans. It was a great place to cast a film, nice facilities, and it let people know that we were serious about producing a quality project. What is your next project? I'm strictly a maker of short films. The project I would like to work on is one about the pressure of the political process that forces people into boxes that really won't take them where they need to be 20 years from now. Any unique issues encountered, and if so, your creative solution? I like to shoot black and white film. I liked it in the 50s, I liked it in the 60s, and I like it now. When we made Dead Man's Number, we were making a period piece because it's set in the 1950s. So we had to produce sets and characters that fit that time period, but were still entertaining now. And of course, black and white seemed the perfect medium. Anyone you would like to acknowledge or thank from this project? The Dead Man's Number was a very collaborative project. We put together a cast and crew of 15 people, and we worked over 3 solid shoot days, then a couple of pickup days. And the funding for the film came from social media, from crowdsourcing, and from old friends and anybody I could try to shake for a few more dollars. And I thank every one of those people. And I thank my caterer for keeping us well fed.